Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a video going over all of the new 2025 releases that I am excited for. For those of you that are new, welcome back to another video. My name is Jaya, and here in this little corner of the internet, I put out videos regarding books every Wednesday and Sunday with a little smattering of randomness here and there. And today we are going to be talking about all of the new releases coming up in 2025 that I am so excited to get my hands on. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. For those of you that are returning, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. It's such a pleasure to have you guys, and I can't wait to show you guys what I want to read. So first up, I have Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. This book is actually coming out at the end of this month, and I've already pre-ordered it from two different locations, one from Barnes & Nobles and one from Amazon. I'm so excited for this book to come out. It is the third book in the series of Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing obviously took the internet by storm when it first came out. I think a lot of new fantasy readers really enjoyed that book. It's a great transitionary book into the genre. It essentially follows a girl, Violet, as she's entering into school in order to train to be a warrior to defend her people. And she happens to meet Xaden during that process. A lot of crazy things ensue. But if you like books that have like that academic setting, but it is also fantasy, high stakes, etc., that's definitely a great book to start with. And it has dragons and all kinds of things. The cliffhanger at the end of the second book, Iron Flame, was absolutely amazing. I'm so excited to see where Rebecca takes the series from here. And so really excited to see what Onyx Storm has to offer. Next up, I have Fearless by Lauren Roberts. Now, fun story about this particular series. It's part of the Powerless series, which is a trilogy. Powerless is the first book. Then we had Reckless, which was released earlier in April of this past year in 2024. Fearless is going to be released soon, and it is the third and final book in the trilogy. I have not actually read the series yet because I was waiting for this final book to come out so I can read the series as a whole. But I've heard wonderful things about the series. It's definitely more young adult vibes, but it's also high stakes. From my understanding, it kind of has some Hunger Game vibes to it, but essentially it's about a character who's pretending to have powers when she doesn't because she doesn't want to be exiled from the upper class. And she ends up falling for the main male lead who has basically been sent to suss her out and see whether she is what she says she is. A Theory of Dreaming is another book that I'm really excited to read. This is the second book in the series. It follows a study in drowning. I actually know very little about this sequel, but I'm very excited to dig my teeth into it. Excited to jump into this world of fantasy and books and libraries and etc. Then Shield of Sparrows is a book that happened to catch my eye when I was kind of going on Amazon and looking at the new books that were releasing. This edition is absolutely stunning. It is within the world of fantasy, and I believe it's like monsters kind of vibes. I'm excited to see what it has to offer. Continuing within the fantasy world, the next book I have is The Things Gods Break. This is based in Greek mythology kind of vibes. The first book in this series is, I have it right here actually. Hold please. The first book is this lovely beast by Abigail Owen. So the first book was called The Games Gods Play, and it's basically about a character who lives in like a cursed clerk's office in San Francisco. And it kind of gives me very much like Rick Riordan vibes. But it's basically following a character living with the repercussions of the decisions the gods make set in Greek mythology. And this would be the second book to this series. So I'm definitely excited to see what this one has to offer as well. Accomplice to the Villain is the third book in the It's not Apprentice to the Villain. Apprentice to the Villain is the second one, Assistant to the Villain series. That series caught my attention last year. It was definitely one of my favorite books that I read of the year. It is also fantasy, but it's very, very easy to follow. Our main female lead character basically ends up in the employment of the village villain and ends up realizing that he has a lot of great characteristics that she wasn't really expecting to see. And a question mark starts to come out as to whether the king is everything he says that he is. And so it's also slow burn romance. It absolutely has you on the edge of your seat in terms of that slow burn romance. It's so easy to completely sink into the world of this book. I read both Assistant to the Villain and Apprentice to the Villain in the span of less than, I want to say, 40, no, what am I saying? Less than 48 hours. So yeah, it was absolutely a wonderful reading session and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I am so excited for this book to come out. Next up, I have Lore Olympus. Lore Olympus is obviously following the story of Hades and Persephone. This started off as a webtoon cartoon and then eventually got translated into physical book copies. I do have the first 7 volumes of this graphic novel series, and I'm very, very excited for the 8th volume to be releasing. A Curse Carved in Bone is the second book in a Fate Inked in Blood series by Danielle L. Jensen. If I'm not mistaken, this is the conclusion. It is supposed to be a duology, but this is based in Norse mythology. We're basically following our main character as she realizes that she has a gift from the gods, which is then seen by everyone else around her. And now she is a prized commodity that both sides of the war equation are trying to get a hold of. She has recently escaped and found that the person she thought was someone she can rely on may not be someone she can rely on. And so that's kind of where we've left off in that series. I'm very, very excited to see where the rest of the series takes us. These are more contemporary romance. I think one of them is technically not, but there's still like kind of a darker vibe in terms of the romance. So I kind of can put it in its own category. So this is like my darker romance type books. Charming Devil by Rebecca Kenny. So Rebecca Kenny has been rewriting classics with a twist and with a sense of magic, fatum, etc. The first book that she released in this series is Beautiful Villains. Beautiful Villains is basically a retelling of Great Gatsby with vampires. That one was really enjoyable and perfect for the October season. I am equally excited for Charming Devil because this book is a retelling of The Picture of Dorian Gray, and I'm very excited to see what she has done with this novel. I really enjoyed A Picture of Dorian Gray. I finally sat down and read it last year, and I have to say it wasn't what I was anticipating. It was a lot darker, I think, than what I was expecting, which is sad to say because I knew it was supposed to be more along the lines of like a darker book. But I do think overall it was just such a clever depiction of, the sense of a human conscience and guilt and how the choices that we make often shape the way we present ourselves to the world. So I'm very curious to see how Rebecca Kenny takes that character and rewrites it in her novel, Charming Devil. Then I have Scythe and Sparrow. This is the third and final book in the Ruinous Love trilogy. It is basically following the story of 3 brothers who are in the industry of serial killers. The first book is Butcher and Blackbird. It's a romance between 2 serial killers, which was absolutely amazing. Lark and Leather was the follow-up. Lark and Leather is basically following the story of another serial killer as well as a contract killer. And now we have Scythe and Sparrow. This is basically following the story of a woman who was a part of the circus, escaped, has her own shady past, and our main male lead, who is the third brother in the siblings, who happens to be a doctor that also ends up in some questionable circumstances. So I'm excited to see what this one has to offer. Next up, I have King of Envy. Anna Huang writes beautiful romances about very flawed male characters and strong women characters. It's very much like realistic in the sense that it is set in like today's time and world, but we're talking about people who come from like billionaire backgrounds and things like that. And this is the 4th book in the, or sorry, the 5th book in the King of Sin series. These novels have been absolutely amazing. I really, 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 really enjoyed the Twisted series, and then the characters that are seen in the King of Sin series are spin-off characters from that series. So I do fully plan on tackling those books. I absolutely love Anna Huang's writing, and I can't wait to see where she takes King of Envy. And then last but not least, in this particular genre, I have Filthy Rich Fae, the second book by Geneva Lee. This is basically about the Fae who are living in New Orleans and basically are also known as the crime syndicate of the area, but are also secretly trying to keep the city clean of all paranormal creatures. It's a very interesting balance between what's going on in the city of New Orleans versus what's happening in the Fatum world. So we left off on a pretty big cliffhanger on the last book, and our main female character is in kind of a tricky situation and has to figure out how to navigate it. We have basically separated our main female character and our main male lead character. So it'll be very fun to kind of see how the two of them come back together and face the threats that are facing them. But I'm very, very excited to pick up Filthy Rich Fae, Fallen Court. I am excited to see what happens and how they resolve the blood debt that is sitting on top of their heads. Next up, I have more contemporary romance. So we're moving away from fantasy and darker romances altogether. Catherine Center is absolutely an amazing writer. I really discovered her this year, and I thoroughly enjoyed all of her romances. So I'm really, really excited to see where this is going to take us. But essentially, this is the newest release that's coming out. It's called The Love Haters. I don't know much about this book, but if I'm correct, I believe it's in the same world as the last book that she released, which is the Rom-Commers. And I think it's about the sister, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. I do know that whatever it is, I'm excited to read it. The Charlie Method is the third book in the new Elle Kennedy series, which is the spinoff from the Off Campus series. I finally finished reading the Off Campus series very recently and did a series review. If you guys haven't had a chance to check it out, definitely take a peek at that video. But it's following the children of the Off Campus series, and I absolutely am so excited to sink my teeth into this series because I thoroughly enjoyed the Off Campus series. So this is the third book in the spin-off series. We have the Graham Effect so far, and then we have the Dixon Rule. Yes, and then now we have the Charlie Method. So I'm very excited to see where all of our characters are from the Off Campus series and how their children deal with their parents' fame, if you will. Next up, Abby Jimenez, another favorite author of mine. She wrote Part of Your World, which is one of my 5-star top reads of 2024. And honestly, I can say that that entire series, Yours Truly, Part of Your World, Just for the Summer, all of those books, absolutely excellent. Her first series that she wrote, which I did also do a series review on, those I would say are not my absolute favorites, but her writing has gotten so much better and her storytelling is just so beautiful. And so Say You'll Remember Me is the start to a completely new, either standalone or series. I'm not fully sure where she's taking it, but this is the book that will be releasing this upcoming summer, and I'm so excited to sink my teeth into it. Emily Henry is also an all-time favorite of mine. I have no idea what these books are actually going to be about. I just know that these authors are authors that I love reading, and I was like, I must have these books. So this is from the author of all of the Emily Henry books. I mean, obviously she wrote all the Emily Henry books, but my absolute favorites of all time, some of them are Book Lovers and Funny Story. I absolutely adored both of those books. She's also written Beach Read, People We Meet on Vacation, Happy Place, and her writing and her prose is just so beautiful. It's so easy to sink into and relate to all the characters within her novels, and I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoy everything she puts out. So I'm so excited to see what The Great Big Beautiful Life has to offer. Continuing in this world, Ali Hazelwood is also releasing a new book. From my understanding, the main female lead is in college. So I think this is a slightly different demographic than she usually writes. She typically writes either post-grad students or grad students or STEM related novels where it's like new graduating PhDs that are going into their career. She's also done one paranormal romance, which was very entertaining, called Bride. And then she also did one young adult that I know of, which was Checkmate, which was also very entertaining. So this is the new release that Ali Hazelwood will be putting out. I absolutely love Ali Hazelwood's writing. It is very sappy, it is very predictable, but being a STEM girly myself, I somehow really enjoy these books. So I'm very excited to see what Deep End has to offer. Lynn Painter is another fan favorite of mine. I absolutely adore her writing style. I do tend to enjoy her young adults more than her adult books, but in general, I have not been led wrong by reading a single one of her books. And so she is releasing her new adult romance, which is Made for Each Other. I'm very excited to see what this book has to offer, and I'm kind of curious to see if this is the sequel to Happily Never After, which is the book she just released in 2024. Lucy Score is another favorite of mine. I really discovered her writing recently as well, but some of the top books of my top picks of 2024 were Lucy Score books. And this is her newest novel for her newest series that she's writing called Story of My Life. So I'm very excited to see where this book will take us. Ashley Poston is the woman who wrote The 7-Year Slip, which was one of my top favorites of 2024. She also wrote a novel love story as well as Dead Romantics, which just amazing books all around. She basically knows how to write a novel that has depth to it, but also feels like sunshine and hugs. And that's the best way I can express it. It makes you want to cry, laugh, feel all the emotions under the rainbow, but you feel like someone is just hugging you and giving you all the love in the world. And I'm so excited to see what Sounds Like Love has to offer. Moving on. So, two books that I wanted to talk about. Lori Gilmore is the author of the Pumpkin Spice Cafe series. If you're looking for something that's very seasonal, very small town vibes, Gilmore Girl vibes, these are your books. I absolutely loved the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I did struggle a little bit with the Cinnamon Bun Bookshop because I read it in the fall and all the things that were happening were very summery. So I did struggle with that a little bit because I am more of a seasonal reader. The Christmas Tree Farm was absolutely adorable, Grumpy Sunshine vibes. I mean, most of her books seem to be Grumpy Sunshine, but it's just such fun books to read. And the small town characters and the small town vibes just add a little cherry on top to all of her books. The Strawberry Patch Pancake House and the Gingerbread Bakery are the fourth and fifth book, the final books, I believe, in the series as well. And they're both releasing this year. The Strawberry Patch Pancake House will be the first one to release, following a new character that I'm actually not yet familiar with. So I'm excited to see where that one takes us. And then the Gingerbread Bakery actually is about a wedding between two of the main characters introduced in a different novel, and then a frenemy ship coming to head. And I'm very excited for that book. Wild Side by Elsie Silver is the third book of the Rose Hills series. She wrote Wild Love and Wild Eyes, which I have yet to read, but they very much have a similar vibe from my understanding to the Chestnut Springs series. And I absolutely loved the Chestnut Springs series. If you want a cowboy romance and you want that, single dad trope, things like that, that I feel like not everyone can do well, Elsie Silver is your girl. She knows how to write a cowboy romance. She knows how to write single dad. She knows how to write grumpy sunshine tropes in general. And found family is just so beautiful in her novels as well. So I'm really excited to have Wild Side out as well. And then Lana Ferguson has written quite a few books as well with very strong female lead characters in positions that are either not commonly female heavy or are oftentimes characters that seem classically girly, I guess, but are stepping outside of their comfort zone. The Nanny was a book that I picked up and read the back of, and I was like, this sounds absolutely hilarious. The Fake Mate was also fake dating tropes, very entertaining. I just really also enjoy Lana Ferguson's writing style, and I'm very excited to see what she does with Overruled. As far as the last category goes, I have thrillers and mysteries. There's only two books in this particular category, but I'm very, very, very excited for The Maid's Secret, which is the third book in the Maid novels by Nita Prose. This is basically about a female lead protagonist character who is the maid of a hotel, and she is different than the others. I would say probably somewhere on the autistic spectrum, probably an Asperger's, but very, very functional. She is not someone that normal quote unquote humans interact with in a way that is always the nicest, and she's not always understood, but the way her mind works and her detective work is so entertaining. And she, as well as her close friends and her family, are just such heartwarming characters. And the thrillers and the mysteries that she solves are hilarious. I would definitely describe these more as cozy mystery vibes, but there is like usually a murder involved in all of these books. And I cannot wait to read The Maid's Secret, which will be the third book in the series. There's also a novella in this series called The Mistletoe Murder, I believe, and that one is also highly entertaining. So if you haven't picked up Nita Prose's books before, strongly recommend reading The Maid. It was a great, great, great read, and I can't wait to get my hand on the newest book. And then Riley Sager happens to be one of my all-time favorite authors. I just think the way he does a mystery or a thriller is so phenomenal. The first book by him that I ever read was Lock Every Door, and I absolutely loved that book. And since then, every single book that he's written, even if it's not necessarily my favorite book, not a single one of his books have been under 3-star reads for me. I have enjoyed every single one of them. And I would say 50-50 on in terms of me guessing what the ending is going to be. But regardless of how he gets to that ending, whether I've predicted it or not, I love the journey of getting there. So very much looking forward to Riley Sager's book as well. And that brings us to the conclusion of this video. Let me know what books you guys are waiting for to come out in the year of 2025. If any of these were books that you guys were interested in as well. I am so, so excited for the upcoming reading year, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. For those of you that are returning, thank you so much for being here, for being part of this bookish community. It's such a pleasure to have you guys and to be able to share this passion with you. And for those of you that are new, if you liked this content and you like bookish related content, then this might be the right place for you. So definitely consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell for all the videos coming out on Wednesdays and Sundays. Until next time, so good to see everyone. Bye, guys.